Four Off the Block. I'm Vinny Lips, and we are now joined by Jay Hosack, who, Jay, it's been an eventful last couple of weeks for you. You were in Europe coaching the U.S. men's national team in the U21 World Championships, back in the States doing some heavy recruiting right now, and finally getting back home. But I got to ask you about that World Championship. You know, obviously I know you guys would have liked to finish a little higher in the rankings, but what's the biggest takeaway for you in that event?
You know, first and foremost, I got to give a lot of credit to the Czech Republic. I've done a few of these World Championships now, and you know, they did a fabulous job putting together everything, and just want to give them a lot of credit for that. It's not easy to do, but that tournament ran very well, and just a lot of thanks for them making everything smooth. You know, I think the real takeaway from all of this is, it's no different than any other World Championship in the sense that our guys are going up against some pretty good players. I think what we really try to accomplish, and I think what happens a lot, is these guys go home after this trip, and they remember some of the things they saw. They remember how this guy attacked out a system, and they remember how relentless the defense was, or they remember how the liberos were so scrappy and how they just hustled for everything. You know, that kind of stuff is what. It's kind of like when you're a little kid and you're watching your favorite baseball pitcher, and then when you're out with your friends playing the next day, you're like, I'm going to pitch like Don Johnson, or I'm going to pitch like Louis Tigon, or I'm going to pitch like so-and-so. And so all of a sudden, you're imitating what you see. And I think that is a huge takeaway, no matter what year, because that improves the level of play in the gyms back home in the college. And my guys, it's hot tooth and nail, and you know, I know that there were moments where people felt like I was mad at the guys for not playing well, and that wasn't the case at all. It was about really just checking back in and resetting the button of, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to give everything we can, and they represented their schools and their families and their friends with a lot of class and a lot of respect. And so, you know, I know 14th is not great, but 14th is still respectable because it's a decent finish with the teams that were there. And so it's always great representing the USA and putting those letters on the back of your shirt when you walk into a gym.
Yeah. And can you just talk about how difficult this tournament is, especially towards the end when you're on your 7th match in 9 days or your 8th match in 10 days?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Our guys, you know, in college, you're practicing maybe 3 or 4 days a week, and then you're traveling and you're playing 2 matches. And you know, in practice, you're thinking, okay, you know, I'm grinding out here and there, and I'm playing some drills, but it's not the intensity, it's not the mental preparation, and the mental draining of an actual match. When you play that many matches in that many days, you know, it's going to take its toll on anybody. And our guys, you know, they tackled it each chance they got as best they could. The reality is, though, is that you're dealing with rosters. Our first pool had Cuba, Russia, and Turkey, and you know, Russia and Cuba is in the finals, and Russia was playing for the bronze medal. So that pool right out of the gate was really, really tough to do. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. It's professional players. You are playing against guys that are making this their living, and our guys are not at that level. And a lot of these guys are playing, you know, with these teams for weeks and months on end before leading up to this tournament. And our guys get together 10 days before this tournament and kind of, you know, get a haphazard couple of practices in, and all of a sudden it's, you know, hey, I hope we're ready. So, you know, it's at this level, it's never easy, but, you know, our guys nevertheless tackle it as best they can, and I got to give them all the respect in the world for, you know, traveling around the world trying to figure this thing out on the fly, and then going home and trying to be a college student again, so.
And, you know, one of the interesting things, just looking at the box scores throughout this, was the performance of Gage Worsley. And it seemed like, really, second half of the tournament, he was really stepping up in the amount of digs. Was there any adjustment that you saw him make or anything throughout the tournament?
No, Gage, you know, here's the thing about Gage. When we decided to bring him on the trip, the staff discussed it, and there was a moment where we all kind of looked at each other and said, this is either going to work really, really well in our favor, or it's really going to blow up in our face and we're going to look like idiots. Because the reality is we had a couple of guys in front of him that are playing college ball already, so they're already seeing a higher level of play in their gym. Gage is just graduated high school and is, you know, getting ready to go to Hawaii and go play in his first collegiate match. So we took a chance because we thought that he brought something extra to the table. There was a good sense of energy kid's range on defense was really good. He's going to make Hawaii really happy for the next 4 or 5 years, and I'm super stoked for them out there. But, we took a chance, and it paid off. Was it the best, was he the best passer in the whole tournament? No, but he was not by any means the lowest passer either. He was making some really great plays, and he's handling serves that were coming at him in the low 70s on a regular basis. And not necessarily diming every single thing, but he was not getting blown off the court either. So super happy for Gage and the work he's put in. He's got a real bright future with USA Volleyball. Could be happier for him.
Yeah. And, you were talking about this being a learning opportunity for the players to take something away from it. Well, I ask you as a coach, what's maybe something that you were able to learn or observe or maybe that you can take back to George Mason?
I try to keep the videos from each one of these tournaments, and I try to bring them back to the gyms that I work in and say, look, I want you to take a look at what your position guy is doing on the court and see if there's anything you can take back from it. I think that's really what any coach does when they go on these things. It's just kind of taking little nuggets here and there. I watch different ways of warming up. I watch different ways of practice. I see, different defensive schemes and blocking schemes. And I think, for the most part, I think USA coaches in the collegiate level do a really good job of preparing our guys for the next level. I mean, we're really limited in how much time we can spend and what we can do, but we really are the farm team, so to speak, as a whole for the national team. And so when I look at our guys when they come in the gym, the staff makes a conscious decision that we don't want to get too crazy in how many schemes and how many setups and things that we have for our offense and defense. We want to kind of keep things as similar as possible and almost dumbify it down a little bit to make it easier for everybody rather than making it all crazy. And I got to give all the coaches around the country a lot of credit because when the guys come in the gym, we'll make a mention of, hey, here's what we're going to do. And 99% of them look at me and go, yep, we got that. We know what to do. We make an adjustment with our defense, and our guys look at us and go, yep, coach, we do that in our gym too. Let's go. And that's really a testament to the coaches around the country. So I want to give them a lot of credit because it makes our job easier rather than trying to reinvent the wheel every year that we go into these things with these new kids. It's kind of, hey, we're kind of plugging and placing people in positions, and it just, they're adapting really well because they do it already in their gyms.
Coach, and one final question, we'll let you go on this. Obviously, you've had some international experience, but back at George Mason, your starting setter, Brian Agron's going to get some international experience this summer. Announced earlier that he's going to be a part of the Puerto Rican national team. We'll see, there's a pretty deep at setter, so we'll see how much playing time he gets. But how beneficial is that going to be for him and your team in 2018 for him to gain this experience of playing with the Puerto Rican national team?
Well, I think, regardless of him making the final cut or not, I think just being in that gym is a huge accomplishment in its own right. I mean, you're going against, some of the top guys in the country to be able to make a spot on a roster to go play in a tournament. And he's up against some of the best setters in the Puerto Rican land right now doing their things. And fortunately for me, another kid that I coached at Goaz at Penn State. So, Brian is going to get an opportunity to showcase his talents. And it's not going to be an easy road. I think what it really does, though, is it just allows him to play volleyball at a really high caliber in the summertime, which is what you want your guys to do. And the best teams in the country, year in and year out, it's not necessarily about what they do during the season because everybody gets that time. It's what your kids do in the off season. And the teams that have guys that play beach volleyball or play in tournaments or play for national teams regardless of the affiliation, those guys come back without losing that touch on the ball. And the teams that kind of are challenged every year are the ones that come back and go, hey, we haven't played volleyball in 3 months, and let's get back after it. Hopefully we can pick it up quickly enough that we can play well. That's where the team struggles a little bit. So I'm really, really happy for Brian. And our other opposite senior that graduated, Jack Wilson, just signed a Finnish contract. We'll be playing out in Finland this year. So, those are all good signs for the program and good signs for our guys and the hard work they put in. We're just happy all the way around that the guys are getting another chance to take it to the next level.